Eagle 95.1, WUPN, Paradise, Sault Ste. Marie.
It's time for The Game. Eagle 95.1 proudly brings you The Game, the Twin Sault's only regional and national sports show. For the next hour, we'll get an in-depth look at sports in the Eastern Upper Peninsula and Algoma region and hear from coaches and players involved in The Game. Now, let's join Scott Nason at the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street in downtown Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, for tonight's broadcast of The Game on Eagle 95.1.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game.
Greetings and salutations and welcome to The Game on this Martin Luther King Monday. Scott Nason broadcasting from the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street after, well, it seems like it was a year since we've been here. Well, actually, it has been a year as we had our last show back in December. So, Happy New Year from all of us at The Game, as we'll be joined here in a few minutes by our good friend Dave McKeag from Sioux, Ontario. We'll also be talking Sioux Eagles hockey around 6:15, Laker Athletics at 6:30, and then Butch Davis from the Telegram News will join us at 6:45. We are broadcasting from the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street. Good to see everybody back after the New Year's as the Wicked Sister. Well, they got a lot going on over the next couple weeks. We'll talk about that here as the show goes along, but they have their Business After 5 event coming up on Thursday. This Thursday from 5 to 7 o'clock. It's a great way to network. It's put on by the Sioux Area Chamber of Commerce, and they'll have menu items from their brand new menu here at the Wicked Sister, along with their great drink specials and drinks on tap. So we're going to start off with local sports. Now, The Game is your local regional sports show. Now, normally we have a 2-hour broadcast. We do the first hour on the radio, and then we do the second hour online. But I have another commitment after the first hour, so we will just do 1 hour tonight, but we'll be back next Monday with our full 2-hour show. We're going to start in local sports with high school basketball, as we are in the meat and potatoes section of the schedule after the holiday break. There's been a lot of games that have happened, and so we will recap them right now. Starting last Monday, boys basketball, St. Ignace fell to Charlevoix by the score of 78-35. Also on Monday night, Harbor Springs all over Rudyard by the score of 85-49. In girls basketball, in the game you heard on Eagle 95.1, the Rudyard Bulldogs defeated the Brimley Bays in girls basketball by the score of 61-42. Sierra Molina, she poured in 26 points for the Bulldogs as they earned their first conference win. Harbor Springs at Cedarville last Monday was won by Cedarville by the score of 48-39. On Tuesday night, the Sioux High Blue Devils in boys basketball went down to Cedarville, and it was all Trojans as Cedarville outscored Sioux High 24-3 in the first quarter and cruised from there as they defeat the Blue Devils by the score of 71-53. Chase Fisher had 15 points for the Trojans, while Brandon Paul scored 15 for the Blue Devils. Pickford on Tuesday night in boys basketball all over Newberry by the score of 55-26. Also on Tuesday night in boys basketball, Rudyard defeated Detour by the score of 57-29. Dylan Mills, he had 14 points and 13 rebounds to lead the Bulldogs. And in girls basketball on Tuesday night, the Sioux High Blue Devils defeated Petoskey by the score of 39-27 as Kenzie Kalchuk, the LSSU women's basketball commit, scored 13 points to lead the Blue Devils. On Wednesday night, more games were happening, 3 to be exact. Girls basketball, Cedarville improved to 8-1 on the season as they top Posen by the score of 58-44. Also in girls basketball on Wednesday, Pickford over Newberry by the score of 50-39. And in girls basketball, Rudyard over Detour by the score of 45-27 as Rudyard earned their second win of the week at that point. Thursday night, 4 games in the area. Brimley at Detour. Now, we were scheduled to have that game here on Eagle 95.1 in boys basketball. However, with the melting and the icy roads, that game was postponed, and that game will be replayed on Monday, January 22nd in Detour. Now, we won't have that game on the air as we'll be here at the Wicked Sister next Monday for the game. Cedarville at Pickford, the big matchup in boys basketball this week. And the Cedarville Trojans defeated the Pickford Panthers by the score of 67-59 to improve to 4-0 in the EUP Conference at the Purple Palace in Pickford. Dakota Fairchild, he had 25 points to lead Cedarville, while Travis Green scored 23 points for Pickford. The boys and the Panthers will be at Posen on Tuesday, while Cedarville will host Newberry. That game set for Wednesday. Straits Area Conference boys basketball on Thursday. It was Sheboygan over Rudyard by the score of 70-67. And the Rudyard Bulldogs will be at Brimley in boys basketball tomorrow night. And we'll have that game right here on Eagle 95.1. Newberry over St. Ignace on Thursday night in boys basketball by the score of 53-46 as the Newberry Indians earn their first victory of the season, and St. Ignace falls to 0-8. And on Friday, there were some games in both boys and girls basketball. The Sioux High Blue Devils got their second win of the season as they defeated Negaunee by the score of 58-53. Brandon Paul had a big game for the Blue Devils. He scored 32 points as the Blue Devils beat Negaunee. And Sioux High is hosting Sheboygan tonight, as a matter of fact, in a makeup game in Straits Area Conference play. Brimley at Detour in girls basketball, it was a thriller. It took not one but 2 overtimes as the Brimley Bays defeated Detour by the score of 53-49. Kendra Carrick, she had 20 points for the Brimley Bays, while Hallie Griziak had 16 for the Detour Raiders. Now Brimley is in action tonight at the Carl Parker Memorial Gymnasium taking on Harbor Light Christian, while Detour, they'll be at home against Alanson on Wednesday. And the marquee matchup in girls basketball in the EUP Conference was also won by Cedarville, as they defeated Pickford on Friday night by the score of 45-39, as the Cedarville Trojans improved to 9-1 on the season. Mackenzie Barr, she scored 17 points for the Trojans, while Taylor Opolka, she had 22 points for Pickford, who now fall to 7-3. Cedarville will be at Newberry on Wednesday, while Pickford is at Pellston going on right now. A couple other games in girls basketball from Friday night. It was Sheboygan over Rudyard by the score of 50-40. Sierra Molina, she had 15 points to lead the Bulldogs, as the Bulldogs will be in action Friday night in Sioux High taking on the Blue Devils. And the St. Ignace Saints improved to 8-0 on the season as they crushed the Newberry Indians by the score of 59-21. The Saints, one of the top teams in Class C in all the state, will be taking on Sheboygan on the road Friday, while Newberry will host Cedarville on Wednesday. And then on Saturday, never did get a score on this game, but the Sioux High Blue Devils girls basketball team, they defeated Essexville Garber to even up their record at 3-3. So our broadcast schedule here on Eagle 95.1 for Brimley Bays basketball has a couple key conference games at home. As I mentioned earlier, the Rudyard Bulldogs will be in Brimley tomorrow night. I'll have the call of that one around 7:15 for the pregame show, and the tip-off around 7:30. And then on Thursday, the boys will be in action once again at home, taking on the Pickford Panthers. So right now it's Cedarville on top in boys basketball in the EUP Conference. They're undefeated, with Brimley just having that one loss. And so these are pretty much 2 must-wins for the Brimley Bays, who haven't played in a while because of that postponement at Detour last week. They haven't played in about 9 or 10 days by the time Tuesday comes along. So we'll have both games right here on Eagle 95.1. In high school hockey, it was the Sioux High Blue Devils on Tuesday night, winning at Escanaba by the score of 3-1 to improve to 10-4-1 on the season. Freshman goaltender Logan Raphael made 27 saves, which included Escanaba having 3 separate 5-on-3 power plays, Avery Tonight, the senior defenseman for the Blue Devils, scored twice, while Basil Morant added the other goal. Now, the Blue Devils were off this weekend, a rare January weekend off, but they'll be back in action this upcoming weekend, Friday night and Saturday afternoon at the Big Bear Arena. They have a couple tough matchups. Friday night, they'll take on Traverse City West. That one will start around 8 o'clock. And then on Saturday, one of the top-ranked teams in the state, Flint Powers, will be at the Big Bear Arena taking on the Blue Devils. That game will start at 3, and our own Tim Ellis will have the call of both games. Friday night, pregame show around 7:45 with the face-off at 8. And then Saturday, pregame show about 2:45 with the face-off at 3. So stay tuned to Blue Devil Hockey this weekend and all season long on Eagle 95.1. And perfect timing for our good friend from Sioux, Ontario. He calls himself the Kegger. He also calls himself Mr. Electric Avenue. I am happy to call him a friend and a colleague.
Nice.
It's Dave McKeag joining us. Dave, thanks for coming in.
Scotty, of course, wouldn't miss it. Well, Happy New Year. Merry Christmas to everyone out there and yourself too, Scott. I know I saw you in the New Year once.
That's right.
How's everything, my friend?
Going well. Our broadcast engineer tonight, Katie Woolen, back at Eagle 95.1 Studios, also wanted me to say hello and wish you a Happy New Year. We're going to talk Sioux Eagles hockey with their assistant coach, Nick Perry, coming up here around 6:15. But, Dave, we got to talk about the Sioux Greyhounds. And, boy, it's been a month since we've had a game, or the game here at the Wicked Sister. And, well, the Greyhounds haven't lost in regulation during that time. As a matter of fact, they have not lost a regulation game since before Halloween. They did have their 23-game winning streak, and a couple weeks ago they lost in a shootout, but they swept the homestand this weekend. The Hounds are just on fire. They're the number one team in all of junior hockey with a record of 37, 3-2-1 after wins this weekend on Saturday against Mississauga, on Friday against Owen Sound, and they also won a Wednesday night affair at the SR Center. Tell us about the Hounds, Dave. They are, well, on fire, to say the least.
Oh, the city of Sault Ste. Marie is absolutely buzzing, especially after the big acquisitions of Radish and Sandbrook, right? Those, when you get those type of players to come in, Sandbrook being a 5th-round pick of the Wings, Radish being a 2nd-round pick of the Lightning, and Radish and Boris being a part as teammates on the Team Canada run to win a gold medal, and being line mates at that tournament, and now being line mates in Sault Ste. Marie. You know, they're hearing a lot of things that Radish only wanted to come to the Sioux. That was his only choice that he gave Erie. So that really shows a lot of excitement when you're in the Sault Ste. Marie community that somebody wanted to come to Sault Ste. Marie and be a part of this winning culture that the Hounds have really done the past few years. But this year they're really obviously going above and beyond that, having the record of 37, 3-2-1. It's truly amazing. And the Hounds, the guys out there on the ice right now, everyone's feeling it. Everyone's getting every pass is crisp. The goaltenders, Johnson and Villalta, I still butcher that last name. Everything's clicking back there. And Sandbrook being a great piece of that D-core back there. He's a big guy. He's 6'3". He's a big man out there. And this all around, this team is built to win the Memorial Cup. And if they don't go to the Memorial Cup and even win it, that's almost a disappointment now, we feel, because of how good this roster is and this winning streak. What a brutal way to lose in a shootout. And we've talked about this numerous times, how to have a winning streak snapped. But like you said, they haven't lost in regulation.
29 games.
29
since before
games.
Halloween.
Exactly.
And we celebrate Halloween on the same day, I might add, on both sides.
It's one of the few holidays that we
right.
celebrate together. But that's amazing in itself. You know, like, you look at all the teams, and I've said it on previously on my show in the beginning of the year with the records that the Hounds have had as an organization, and trying to compare it to the teams that they've had success with in 84, 85, 90, 92, 93, when they won the Memorial Cup, and even previous years when they had Simmons and they had Ritchie and they had all these different guys. This team might be the best all-around team in comparison to that Memorial Cup team. So just truly great feats of that winning streak and team that they have on the ice.
A friend of mine that listens to the show, his uncle is a season ticket holder. He's been a season ticket holder since the late 70s, over going back to the Memorial Garden for the Sioux Greyhounds. He says this group is the best team he's seen. And, you look at, they're all in right now. Obviously, the general manager, Kyle Raftis, has made some moves. You mentioned Taylor Radish being acquired. The draft pick of the Tampa Bay Lightning, Jordan Sandbrook, a draft pick for the Detroit Red Wings. That trade in exchange, the Hounds sent Hayden Fowler, who was a pretty good young player in his own right, along with 9 draft picks to the Erie Otters. You got some from 2018 all the way up to 2023 as the Hounds made that move. And then they made another move there, getting another overager just before the trade deadline as they acquired the rights to Finnish winger Johnny Temela, who was playing for the Peterborough Petes. So you look at this team, you look at Coach Drew Bannister, who obviously has done a great job, and he has a lot to work with right now. And the guy I just can't help but think is saying, boy, did I make a mistake, is the goaltender from last year, Joseph Raymakers. I mean, he just got to be sitting back saying, man,
why did I leave?
Why did I leave?
Why did I want to leave?
This team is good, and, there's really – I haven't seen them play in person, Dave, but again, judging by the people I've talked to that have been there, judging by the accounts, I mean, they just don't seem to have a weakness that, at least at this point, has been shown.
No, and the big thing I want to say is I was at the game when they played Saginaw, the first game that Radish had his debut when they had their gold medal
5
ceremony.
points on Saturday.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And he had almost had a hat trick in his first game. He only had 2 goals only. But, the more people ended up coming into the SR Center, is basically sold out. When I was younger, I remember the Memorial Gardens being loud where you couldn't hear yourself think.
Such a good atmosphere.
It was SR, that game when I was there when they played against Saginaw, the atmosphere was loud, but it wasn't as loud as I remember it. So I think the city is starting to really catch wind of this and coming to the games more live opposed to watching on TV. You got to get out and really watch this talent that they have on the ice right now. You have to enjoy it in face value. You can't watch it on TV. If you can get to the rink, get out there and enjoy this talent firsthand and get loud in that arena. We used to be known as a hockey town in Ontario, and the Hounds are keeping us on the map, and we got to give kudos to Kyle Dubas still too.
Yeah, he really set this in motion.
Yes,
didn't
he did. A couple years back. Now he's with the Toronto Maple Leafs, obviously, as we both know. So, the Hounds, it's thumbs up all the way, and they're all in, like you said, 9 draft picks, and they actually still have lots of draft picks available in their system. They moved a lot of other draft picks from other teams, so they were smart in this trade, and they may think, a 2022 pick. Even Fowler, being a good prospect that he is, when you get someone in like Radish as talented as he is,
he's a good player.
You cannot put that aside. That's like bringing in like talents of Wayne Simmons. Those are like bringing in the talents of all those guys. So sit back and relax. The Hounds howl.
It's good to be Radish right now. You got a gold medal. You're on the best team in junior hockey. You're a draft pick of one of the best teams in the NHL. It's good to be Taylor Radish.
Yeah, for sure.
Indeed.
Yeah, if it is. Going to go live in Tampa Bay where the sun's hot 24/7.
Exactly. The Hounds on the road this weekend. They'll be at Sarnia on Friday and at Flint on Saturday. We're going to take our first break on the game. We come back. We're going to talk the NOJHL and Sioux Eagles hockey as their assistant coach has made his way to the Wicked Sister. Nick Perry is going to join us, talk about this weekend victory against Rayside Balfour in a busy January and weekend ahead for the Eagles. That's coming up next on the game here on Eagle 95.1.
Get wicked at the Wicked Sister. You'll find the best tasting food for the whole family. Start off with some appetizers like the crab dip, served with warm naan bread strips and soft pretzel bites, or their antibiotic and hormone-free boneless chicken wings with 5 choices of sauces. Entrees include the barbecue pulled pork sandwich, the #1 selling drunken cow burger, or Philly cheesesteaks, and they're on special all day Thursdays. The Wicked Sister also offers a gluten-free menu and catering. Bring the whole family. The Wicked Sister, downtown Ashman Street, open 7 days a week.
Let's get back to the local sports talk on The Game. Live from the Wicked Sister on Eagle 95.1.
Welcome back to the game on Eagle 95.1. Scott Nason and Dave McKeag broadcasting from the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street on the snowy Martin Luther King Monday. And the Wicked Sister, well, they got some accolades, Dave, since the last time we have been here as the local newspaper, the Sioux News. They have their Best of the Best contest that they run in the fall and into the winter where readers can nominate and vote for different categories, and the Wicked Sister got a lot of winners, including they were voted Best New Restaurant, Best Bloody Mary, and our good friend Scott over there, Scott Marble, voted Best Bartender in the Sioux in 2017. I voted for him 6 times. That's how much I was confident that he would get that. So congratulations here to the accolades. And the Wicked Sister has an event coming up on Thursday, January 25th. We mentioned this upcoming Thursday, the Business After 5 will be here from 5 to 7. And on Thursday, January 25th, the Beer versus Cider dinner is happening starting at 5:30. Tickets are $40, and boy, you get a whole bunch of stuff for that, including 4 courses, 4 beers, 4 ciders. You can also get your tickets in advance, Dave. That sounds like a fun event.
Oh, I guess so. And just for $40 for 4 beers and 4 ciders, let me tell you, over on the Canadian side, 4 beers and 4 ciders are
get a credit card.
You might have to get a mortgage out over there for that.
We are joined right now by our guest tonight. His name is Nick Perry, one of the assistant coaches of the Sioux Eagles, as the Eagles were in action this weekend at home against the Rayside Balfour Canadians. We'll talk about that here with Nick. Coach, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me. Always excited to be here.
Well, it's good to have you in here, Nick. And, the Eagles played Rayside Balfour 3 times last week, losing twice in both close contests in Rayside, and then coming back on Saturday here at the Polar and doing the games on Hockey TV. Myself and Larry Pozzebon, in the pregame show, I said, you know what, it's January, there's lots of games left, but it was just a game that you guys really needed to have. Losing to Rayside 5 times going into that one, and you guys skate out with the 3-1 victory. That's a big win.
Absolutely, and one thing we talked about before the game is it had to be time to win. We lost to them twice in a row in the same week, 3 times in the last 5 games to the same team. It was just a matter of time before we beat this team. It became less about strategy and tactics. We knew that.
Right.
We knew that going in, what their game plan was. It was more about just finding a way to win a hockey game. And at the end of the day, we played hard, worked as a team, and we got a couple lucky bounces, and it resulted in us winning. I think you look at the 2 games we played against them in Rayside the week before, we outplayed them. Maybe even better than we played in the game that we actually won. But we just didn't get the bounces. Saturday night, we got the bounces, we played hard, worked our strategies against theirs, and we won.
Yeah, looking at that game on Saturday, Coach, Rayside got out to a 1-0 lead, and I thought really the key to that game was Shane Brancato at the end of that first period and the beginning of the second. He made 2 spectacular saves that looked like were sure goals, really keeping you in, and then you ended up, obviously getting those 3 goals. Really nice game for Shane and net on that night.
And it's something we always talk about. Shane, his consistency is pretty much there. When we call upon him to win a big game for us, he wins it. I think at the end of the day, all the guys in front of him played really well, but Shane had to come up with, I'd say, probably 10 huge saves during that game that not only kept us in the game when we were struggling, but kept us ahead when we took the lead. Without Shane backing us that game, might be a different story. And obviously we know that if Carter was playing as well, he'd give us the same effort because they wanted to beat those guys, I think, more than anybody else on the team. They both lost, I think, 2 or 3 games to them. I think Carter lost 3 and Shane lost 2. They wanted to win, I think, worse than anybody. And Shane put up a great effort, and the guys in front of him played well too, and we came out with 2 big points.
See, the big thing is, we were discussing this off the air, was the mental aspect.
Oh, yeah.
Hockey is mental is obviously a massive part of the game. And, when you play a team and you lose twice, that happens, but if you lose that 3rd time at your home barn, then you start thinking, these part of the season as well, you're starting to think negative when you go against these guys. You're even negative about yourself, or you stay on that losing way and you want to get out of those that quicksand. And obviously the goaltenders, that's a big thing, be mental as well, not winning often against that team. So what were the things you did different in this 3rd game opposed to the 2nd game that you think really kind of helped? I know the goaltender, as you said, had a big part in doing with it, but obviously you must have altered some game plans, after 2 straight losses in Rayside to get that win.
Really, the morning of that game, I met with the guys super briefly for about 5 minutes, went over a short game plan, just said, hey, these are the things that they're doing against us that they're beating us on, key in on that. And then after that, I literally had them take the wheel. I said, what do you guys think that we need to change here in this game? They brought up a few ideas. Myself and Coach Cappy talked about it for warm-ups, and Cappy talked to them after warm-ups, obviously, got them ready for the game. And really, at the end of the day, with all the strategies, we put that aside, and I think it was between the 1st and 2nd period, Coach Cappy came in and said, listen, guys, we want to beat this team. We basically brought up the mental aspect of it, too. It's mental at this point. Either we want to beat them or we don't. If we want to beat them, we're going to go out there and find a way to win. If we don't want to beat them, we're not going to win.
Exactly.
And I think that really changed the momentum of that game. Obviously, I think the 2nd and 3rd period, we came out and we played a lot harder than we did in the first. We were finishing some hits, going to the net, getting to those rebounds, and bring up the mental point of it. It did affect us. There's no way to, shake that off. You lose to a team after outplaying them twice in a row in the games before, and it's just like it came to a point where we were thinking, can we beat this team?
Yep.
And I think what happened was it kind of snapped in the guys between the first and second periods that night, and they said, we're tired of this. We're tired of losing to this one team. We know we're going to see them in the playoffs, most likely, and if we do, we can't go into the playoffs with an 0-8 record against them.
No,
and at the end of the day, it was a huge win, and I think it could be a big momentum swing for us coming up with this big 7 games in 11 days that we have coming up.
Yeah, let's get to that. Assistant coach Nick Perry joining us on the game, and we mentioned earlier tonight about high school basketball being in the meat and potatoes portion of the schedule. We're into the full course meal as far as the Sioux Eagles are concerned. As Nick said, a very busy schedule this week, Coach. You go to Elliott Lake on Thursday. Then you have a home-and-home series against the Sioux Thunderbirds Friday night here at Puller Stadium, and Saturday at the John Rhodes Community Center. And then you go to Blind River that Monday. I think your host Elliott Lake that Wednesday, and then you have a couple road games there. I think Espanola and maybe Elliott Lake again. This is where you're going to start to make up some of those games in hand, especially on Blind River. 7 games in 11 nights. That's tough for any team, but the advantage, I think, with the Sioux Eagles is how well-conditioned you are. Having Mike Barbo, I mean, he's a godsend as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
And so is that a big thing right now going into this stretch?
Oh, absolutely. I think Mike gets them prepared better than almost anybody in terms of off-ice training. You can see, especially in the third periods, we have a lot of success in the third period. And that's not for nothing. It's one, our on-ice sessions with conditioning, and then 2 of the off-ice sessions with Barbo. He's great with it, and he's great with the guys. And that's going to be huge here in the next 11 days because everybody knows we have injuries. We're shorthanded right now. Unfortunately, that's how it is. We're not going to use it as an excuse. We're going to try to use it as fuel. We're down a few guys, but we're still going to come together as a team, and we look at these next 11 days and we say, like you said, we now we're going to catch up to all these guys now. But having those games in hand really don't mean anything unless you win them.
Exactly.
And I think that's going to be a big kind of conversation point over the next couple of weeks is, guys, we have 7 games coming up. At the end of these 7 games, we're going to be caught up with these other teams. If we can win 5 of them, we might be in second or third place. If we can't win 5 of them, it's really not worth anything then. And I think the guys realize that too, and they're ready to go. They're excited for it. It's big games. We play the T-Birds twice. We play Blind River twice, Elliott Lake twice. These are big rivalry games. They're games that the guys are going to have to get up for and show off their stuff.
And Dave, every game here on out is a West Division game. They're done with the East.
I was about to say, it's all divisional games, right? When you're playing against your own division, those are crucial games, and playoffs are obviously in your guys' sights, so congratulations with that, too. We saw the official clinch, I think, was last week or the week prior. But, this is the type of playoff schedule you have. Usually when you have 7 games, 11 days, maybe you got a 7-game series, you're playing every second day, essentially. Sometimes you're playing back-to-back with 2 days off, then playing back-to-back again because of the way the NOJHL is with budgets. So this is kind of how it feels like you said, the meat potatoes. I love that reference, but this is how this gets you ready for the playoffs, which is not too far away. There's still games to play, but it gets them set for it. And like you said, Barbo has a big part of that. Mental's a big part of that. Yeah. Them being young really helps.
That helps.
I don't know if I can do that anymore, but
I can.
It's going to definitely have a playoff feel, and these are some massive games coming up.
And that's one of the things that we like. We clinch playoff berth, awesome, but at the end of the day, every team in this division is so close together. I think maybe the biggest separation is about 8 points, 10 points. From now till the end of the season, everything can change.
Yep.
And that's what makes these next 11 days big, is that it is a playoff-like atmosphere. One, we're down bodies. 2, we're playing a lot of games in not too many days, and we need to gain ground on guys. Yep. It's going to really test our guys. Obviously, we're a younger roster, like we said, 18 rookies. Actually, 17, I would just added Will Casey, which was big, which was huge, getting another veteran body in there. It's really going to test these younger guys, and it's going to give them a little bit of a taste of what it's going to be like come March. And I think that's a great test to have at this point in the year. We clinched playoff berth, so we can have a little bit of satisfaction there, but I don't think we're going to be satisfied until we get to that 1 or 2 spot where we have that home ice advantage, and I know that that's our goal. That's the players' goal, and these next 11 days, it's going to be huge to push toward that.
And that was the big thing, is that you want to get that home ice advantage as best you can, right? Especially, the Thunderbirds, they're in a battle up there. Arguably, it's between you two is the ideal goal to go. But when you have the home ice advantage over communities like Blind River and also over Rayside, those are big ups to have in the playoffs, especially at the Polar Stadium.
Oh, yeah.
You get that energy going at Polar Stadium, the Polar Burgers and the beverages flowing out in that arena. There's no more loud arena in the NOJHL. So to get that going, the home ice is definitely the goal. And that was going to be my question too. And to get those goals, obviously getting the rest and having your leadership is probably really crucial in that circumstance as well. Because you do have a lot of rookies, but you have your veterans there too. But those are your guys that you depend to keep these rookies going, kick them in the butt, as they like to say. They keep them mentally prepared.
Well, and the thing is too, I think over the last 2 years, the Eagles, they've been part of that 4 versus 5 play-in series.
Yes.
We don't want to be in that situation. We, like I said, we're hurt, we're banged up. We want that extra week off. And guys like Saxon and Palmario and Casey who have been through it before. Saxon and Palmario have been through it twice before. Casey once last year with them. Like you said, they're going to kick the younger guys in the butt and say, listen, we don't want to be in that series. We don't want to put ourselves in that situation. Even if we finish 4th and have the home ice advantage for that series, we don't want it.
No.
We need that extra weekend to prepare for what's coming for us. We want to know who we have ahead. We don't want to have our butts kicked. Even if we win that series, it's going to be 2 or 3 grueling games. You're not going to come out of that healthy.
No.
It's just not how it's going to be. That's not how any playoffs are, regardless of the league it is. It's hard hockey. You don't want that extra week of playing. And that's a conversation that we have had with the guys.
Yep.
And we're going to have it again probably tomorrow and Wednesday leading up to this 7 games in 11 days. We don't want to be in that situation. If we can pull out 10, 11, 12 points out of these next 7 games, we could put ourselves in a spot where we don't have to worry about that. And that's our goal.
Coach Nick Perry joining us on the game. Coach, I want to mention a couple things here about the upcoming games. This Friday night at the Polar against the Sioux Thunderbirds, of course, the border battle. Yeah. Lots of special events going on, including the Student of the Month ceremony that happens, I believe, between the 2nd and 3rd period, honoring area elementary school students. They'll also have a skate with the Eagles after the game. So if you're going to go to the game, bring your skates. They'll have a fan appreciation night next Wednesday, which would be the 24th, as the Eagles will take on, I believe, Elliott Lake in that game. Tickets are discounted. You get discounts at the concessions. And then coming up on Saturday, January 27th, it's the 3rd annual exhibition game, a charity fundraiser against the U.S. Coast Guard Stars hockey team. Admission is $7, and all proceeds will go to the KDR Challenge Foundation. Nick, I haven't been able to be at this game the last couple of years, but I think I'm free that night, so that's always a fun time, and it's really for a great cause. Of course, Kelsey Dawn Raphael, one of the local high school students a few years ago that lost her life, and her mom and parents have put on this great KDR Challenge Foundation, helping raise money to raise awareness about texting and driving, and so always a fun night for the Eagles to kind of take a step back and give back to the community, something that they do quite often.
Oh, absolutely. And the guys love doing it too. I mean, a lot of the guys get up for that stuff. I know tomorrow I think they're going around to schools handing out tickets. It's something that they like to do. And it's in between that 7 games and 11 days. But you know what? That's a day where they can kind of relax, sit back, enjoy an exhibition game, not have to go 100%. And just enjoy themselves for a good cause, and there's not one guy on this roster who doesn't like giving back to the community. I think they all do it. I know they all do it, and they all love doing it. I know at the Christmas caroling they had last month, they were having fun with that, singing for the elderly homes and handing out presents. They just love to do it. It's a big part of our team, and I know Bruno and Ron are all about it, and you have to be. You have to give back to the community. The community comes to watch you play. They cheer you on. And it's time. And the guys like to give back to that. Just because, like you said, it's a big part of our wins too. And you brought it up too that without that energy and without those fans being there, you don't win as much as you do at home. We go to the other rinks and we don't see the crowds that we have. And it's something that the guys really appreciate. And that's a big reason why they love to give back so much.
Sioux Eagles assistant coach Nick Perry joining us on the game. Coach, thanks for dropping by. We'll definitely talk more Sioux Eagles as the season goes along, and best of luck during this busy stretch.
Absolutely.
Bring back some wins to Sioux, Michigan.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
And we thank you, and we'll be back with our next segment talking Laker athletics on the game here on Eagle 95.1.
The Wicked Sister, Sioux, Michigan. Check TripAdvisor, ranked right towards the top. Awarded the Certificate of Excellence, as well as voted #1 pub in the UP. The Wicked Sister has managed to create a casual menu that offers unique, creative, and sometimes healthy offerings that rivals menu selections of any big city. Burgers and starters, snacks and shareables, soups and salads, sandwiches and tapas. On Ashman Street, Sioux, Michigan. Welcome to the Wicked Sister, where you'll be treated like family, whether you like it or not.
Let's get back to the local sports talk on The Game, live from the Wicked Sister on Eagle 95.1.
Welcome back to the game on Eagle 95.1. Scott Nason and Dave McKeag broadcasting from the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street on this Monday night. Lots going on at the Wicked Sister, including Business After 5 on Thursday. Brought to you by the Sioux Area Chamber of Commerce, as they will have that event Thursday from 5 to 7. Come on down. It's a great opportunity to do some networking and to try the fantastic brand new menu. Many different menu items available here at the Wicked Sister. Dave, I know you're sampling some of the great menu. What are you eating tonight?
This is some the tots.
The tots.
The tots that Scott calls them. I forget what the exact term is. The tots with cheese inside them and a little bacon. Like fried up and delicious. I like to call it a delicious tot.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Now, Dave, lots of exciting things happening for this show in 2018. Of course, we'll be here at the Wicked Sister. We're also getting a brand new web page coming up here later on this month. Now, you'll be able, right now you can hear the podcasts of the game, which includes the 2-hour show. Again, tonight, just an hour because of another commitment I have. But you can hear that right now on the podcast page, which is at snason.podomatic.com. However, we're getting a brand new website that is going to be up and running. It's in the process right now. It's like building a building. It has the framework in, has some things that we got to put the roof on and put up the fancy decorations. And you can find that at thegamesportshow.com. That's thegamesportshow.com. It's going to include the podcast of this show, your special editions of the game in Sioux, Ontario, along with the Brimley Bays basketball podcast that I do, Sioux Eagles hockey, even Sioux High hockey, lots of things. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be awesome. We're going to have it quite organized very well as well. I got to give a shout out to Andre LaFrancois.
I love you saying that last name, LaFrancois,
who's actually listening.
Very good.
So
we appreciate it, Andre.
Yes, he's definitely putting his time in there, showing me the ropes and trying to help me learn how to develop websites, because you and I both, who are going to be a part of editing a lot on that website.
We're not the best tech-savvy guys.
No, we're not.
We're going to need a little assistance.
We just know how to talk.
That's debatable in some cases for yours truly. But we were going to have a guest from Lake Superior State University for their hockey team, but that gentleman was a little under the weather, so we'll have Laker Athletics back next week. We're actually going to talk to head coach Damon Witten's wife, Angie, on one of her things that she's doing at Lake State. And let's cover Laker Athletics, as both the men's and women's basketball teams were in action this weekend at home. The men on Thursday night defeated Northern Michigan by the score of 78-60, as senior guard Kemji Williams led the Lakers with 18 points and 9 assists. Of course, one of our broadcast engineers, Katie Woolen, of course, a good basketball player as well, but Lance Monroe, who is on the Laker men's team, he got lots of action this weekend. The women were at home on Thursday, and they fall to Northern Michigan by the score of 79-63, as sophomore forward Lexi Cohn led the Lakers with 15 points, as the Lakers remained winless at that point. And then on Saturday, both the men and women were in action. The men improved to 14-3 on the season as they defeat Michigan Tech by the score of 84-73, and what a game for senior guard Kemji Williams. 34 points, which was a season high. He finished with 9 assists and 8 steals and was named the North Division Player of the Week this week. Those are some pretty good numbers there, Dave.
Yes, they absolutely are. And, to get those kind of personal, goals and get those kind of personal achievements are great. And hopefully it continues to reflect with the team, though, right? That's the main goal. But congratulations. That's exciting.
Laker women lose to Michigan Tech on Saturday by the score of 77-47 as they fall to 0-13. And both the men and women will be on the road this week as they'll be at Grand Valley on Thursday and Purdue Northwest on Saturday. And a couple other basketball notes. A little bit of a personal variety, Dave. My oldest son, Vance Nason, was at the Laker men's game with my dad, Roy, his grandpa, and they had a three-point contest. He was solicited by one of our guests a few weeks ago, Hunter Perry, one of the new ticket personnel up there, as he had a three-point contest against another gentleman there in front of the big crowd. Make as many three-pointers in a minute. He made 3. He won the contest.
Oh, that's what I like to see. Where's that athletic ability coming
Well,
from?
not from me, obviously. And the youngest of the Nason boys, my youngest son, Liam Nason, had his first basketball games. He's in 4th grade right now at Washington School, which is a whole other story we'll get into here at 7 o'clock. But had their first games. They tied, which I love, a tie in basketball. I was all about that, 6-6. But in the second game, he played point guard. They lost to J.K.L. Buwaning by the score of 12-10. 4 points, 2 assists. I think I counted 6 steals and about 5 rebounds.
Well,
So
there you go.
The basketball talents run apparently very deep with those two.
Very, very deep. You know what? Me and Lance need to have a one-on-one battle.
That's right.
I would get absolutely smoked.
Laker hockey, on the weekend. They split. They did lose on Friday night by the score of 4-0. As goaltender Nick Kossoff was in net as they played rotating goalies on that night. And then the Lakers, they had to have a win on Saturday, and they did. They played one of their better games in quite some time as they defeated Ferris State by the score of 4-3. So the Lakers right now still struggling. Overall record of 6-16-4. They're in 9th place in the WCHA, 7 points out of the playoffs. They have 10 games left, Dave, but only 2 at home. And next weekend they'll be at Northern Michigan. So it's going to be a tough road to hoe for the Lakers to try to make the playoffs, as it's been a pretty tough season right now on the rink.
Absolutely. You know what? You can never count somebody out. I understand that. But, it looks very, very dim for the Lake Superior State University Lakers. And, it's been a tough season, as you said. And to be 6-16 and is definitely not the goal that the organization had this year. And it's just a matter of now you got 10 games left. Have a goal. Everything that's happened has happened already, so you can't change the past. Look toward the future in terms of having the goal to finish strong. Try to be 7-3 in those final 10 games. Try to aim to at least be above 65 win percentage in those 10 games. That get you in the playoffs? I don't know. I think you need to win at least 85% of those games to squeeze into there. But, you never know what can happen, so don't stop and don't quit. And even though you're not at home for 8 of those 10 games, at the end of the day, you're an NCAA team. You're a hockey team. Anything can happen in hockey, and you just got to work hard each game in and game out. And I know the leadership that Aiden Wright provides. I trust that as smart and as good as a kid as he is, he can set the tone in that locker room, and really get the guys going, and then followed by his other leaders and the coaching staff, I'm sure can get the guys rolling to hopefully try to grind out these last 10 games and maybe make a good push and provide some additional excitement here in the Twin Saults.
Dave, since we don't have the second hour tonight, I wanted to get your take quickly here before we get to Butch Davis from the Telegram News on NFL playoff weekend. And, I'll tell you what, if you would have told me at the beginning of the year that the 4 quarterbacks involved in the conference finals would be Tom Brady. Okay, obviously Tom Brady. Blake Bortles for Jacksonville. Case Keenum for Minnesota. And Nick Foles for Philadelphia. Well, I would have said you were nuts. But
you're absolutely insane.
Those are your 4 teams. You have Philadelphia and Minnesota in the NFC. New England and Jacksonville in the AFC. And, I thought that Pittsburgh-Jacksonville game was going to be the story of the day. But, boy, what an ending to that Minnesota New Orleans game. There's been very few times when I've watched sports where my jaw just dropped at the end of the game. And that was one of them. Unbelievable ending. I'm sure everyone knows by now of the crazy play. And, boy, that poor wide receiver. That safety, who he was trying to tackle. Manti Te'o's girlfriend. You remember that from Notre Dame where he had that whole fake thing there? I think he was trying to tackle him, but tough way to lose a football game for the Saints.
Absolutely. You know what? In my circle of friends, Dane, who's on the show, Falcon fan, had a tough loss against the Eagles. Me, being a Steeler fan, watching the game at work, streaming. Sorry if my superiors hear that.
He was working.
I was working. I had it streaming in the back. And the Pittsburgh defense was absolutely
brutal.
Atrocious. That is the worst
and some
display of
coaching
defense.
decisions there
Oh,
by
brutal.
Powell at the
It
end.
wasn't the offense's fault, I'll tell you right now.
No.
That offense is lethal. And for Pittsburgh not to move on is absolutely disappointing. They should move on. Then you look at Jacksonville. They've got to give credit. They have a great defense, even though letting 42 points. Pittsburgh put up 42 points against the league's best defense. You know, that's impressive. But the Saints-Vikings, Dustin Grondin being a diehard Saints fan.
Oh, my goodness. He just
you see that video on Facebook of that guy who was looking at the TV in the shiny jacket then literally fainted? That's exactly, I think, what happened to Dustin. And you know what? It's a rough way to lose that way. And now you got, like you said, the 4 quarterbacks that are there now. If you would have told me that at the beginning of the year, that wouldn't be the case. That would not be at all what was happening. And I'll tell you right now, Tom Brady is either doing 2 things. Licking his chops, saying this is the easiest road to my 6th ring, or he's going to sit there and say, you know what, I better watch and not underestimate. I'm going to go with the latter on that because don't underestimate Jacksonville. Not Blake Bortles. He's the worst starting quarterback in the league next to Kaiser. I don't care if he's a Final Four. If he didn't have Leonard Fournette or their defense, Blake Bortles would be sitting on the sidelines as a backup somewhere and not be playing. I still don't believe in Blake Bortles. Nick Foles, good for you, man, coming out. You're not Carson Wentz, though. At the end of the day, having what we have in this Final Four, it's going to bring it down to a very keen finish to see what's going to happen. Obviously, you're thinking New England's moving on, but don't underestimate Jacksonville. And in Minnesota and Philadelphia, anything could happen, but Case Keenum.
Skull.
Oh,
it's a skull. They stole that from Iceland, by the way. They stole that from Icelandic soccer.
That's soccer.
So they should be suing the state of Minnesota
right now. Absolutely. And playoffs are still exciting. I'm not as excited now because my black and yellow are out, but nothing worse than the way the Saints lost.
That was tough. We're going to take our final break here on the game. When we come back, we're going to talk Detroit sports with our good friend Butch Davis from the Telegram News. He'll talk about the Pistons in action today against Charlotte. We'll talk about the Wings and a big win at Chicago. We'll also maybe try to figure out what the heck's going to happen with the Detroit Lions and their coaching situation. That's coming up next on the game here on Eagle 95.1.
Get wicked at Wicked Sister. You'll find the best tasting food for you and your family. Start off with some wicked appetizers like the crab dip, served with soft pretzel bites and warm non-bread strips, and delicious boneless chicken wings that are antibiotic and hormone-free with 5 choices of sauces. Try the barbecue pulled pork sandwich or the #1 selling drunken cow burger and the chicken caprese flatbread. Check out the Wicked Sister gluten-free menu and catering. The Wicked Sister, downtown Ashman Street, 7 days a week.
Let's get back to the local sports talk on The Game. Live from the Wicked Sister on Eagle 95.1.
Welcome back to the game on Eagle 95.1. Scott Nason broadcasting from the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street on this Martin Luther King Monday. And coming up on Thursday, January 25th, the Wicked Sister is having their beer versus cider dinner. $40 gets you 4 courses, 4 beers, and 4 ciders. And you can get your tickets right now here at the Wicked Sister. Our broadcast engineer, Katie Woolen, back in the Eagle 95.1 studios. And we are joined by Butch Davis, sports editor and journalist from the Telegram News and host of the radio podcast Butch on Sports, as Butch joins us each and every week to examine the Metro Detroit's professional and college sports scene. Butch, a very happy new year. How you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great, Scott. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. And Butch, let's get everyone caught up on the Detroit sports scene. Let's start with the team that was in action earlier today on a Martin Luther King matinee at Little Caesars Arena as the Pistons fall to the Charlotte Hornets by the score of 118-107. The Pistons 22-20 on the season, 8th in the Eastern Conference, as several key players out of the lineup recently. Butch, give us a state of the Pistons here to start the new year.
Pistons were powerless this Monday in the front of a home crowd at the LCA there. The home team did well in the first half. Second half, they just didn't show up, especially on defense. Dwight Howard, 21 points, 17 rebounds in the game here. I'll give you some stats here that we get and we receive on Do Notice after we call it the final playbook here. And it shows very decently there that the time was even during the starters there on the average of maybe 35 to 34 minutes for each and every one of the sides there. Andre Drummond only getting 3 points and only 10 rebounds. Now, I know that's below the circumstance for Andre Drummond. He's used to getting at least double figures a whole heck of a lot of time. So you got to have somebody to back him up here. Well, let me give you an example here. Two people normally back him up would be Henry Ellison, who played 11 minutes, went 1-for-1, but allowed 8 more points to go in for a -7. The same goes for Eric Moreland there. 3 for 7, scoring 6 points there, and not doing too well on the rebounding there. Only total of 3 rebounds. You got to have that evening out process there. Today was all about Dwight Howard coming in there and putting the whammy on the Detroit Pistons. Plus, again, the Pistons bench did not show up. The only one showed up was Anthony Tolliver with 17 points in the game in 25 minutes. Luke Kennard played 25 minutes. Only a total of 5 points. He has to do a better job when he comes off that bench. At least giving the Pistons some zest by giving 12 and 15 points with the amount of time he's on the floor.
The Pistons will be on the road Wednesday at Toronto, taking on the Toronto Raptors. Butch, let's move on to the Detroit Red Wings. They had a very nice performance yesterday afternoon at Chicago as Tyler Bertuzzi and Anthony Mantha each had a goal and an assist. And Jimmy Howard earned the shutout as the Wings get back to the 500 mark as they defeat the Chicago Blackhawks by the score of 4-0. The Wings now 6 points out of the last wild card spot in the East. Will host Dallas on Tuesday. Give us the state of the Wings playing a little bit better over the next last few weeks.
Well, let me make one correction there. That was Peter Mazerik who got the shutout for the Red Wings yesterday. It wasn't Jimmy Howard. Jimmy Howard was rested, and the Red Wings did something they didn't do the game before: shoot the puck at the net and whatnot, and have people bouncing in there and being active. Okay, using their speed, using their wit. They're not shooting the puck a lot here. That's causing a whole heck of a lot of hardship for the Red Wings. Defense has been a lot better when they skate. But when they're not skating and using the offense to kind of employ their defensive whack and skill and doing some fierce forechecking there, they're doing all right. The last 5 games now, they've done okay. They've won 4 of them there. So that's more than I can say maybe in the early part of the season when they were having a whole heck of a lot of trouble. Hopefully they'll stay on that base of using some offense to employ the defense.
Moving on to the Detroit Lions, Butch, obviously coaching search is up front and center, but not a whole lot of news due to maybe the lead guy that's still in the playoffs. What can you tell us, if anything, about the search for the new Lions coach?
Not a doggone thing here.
Right.
And I'm not going to lower my standards here because of Sports Illustrated and ESPN here. Right. The bottom line is the league rules state in the facts that, you know what, we can't say anything about if a coach is participating. That coach can't say nothing till everything's over. Now, you can speculate. It might be Josh McDaniels. It might be the other guy, Patricia, okay? It could be a humongous amount of people who are still in the playoffs here. But, again, right now everybody's saying it's got to be Patricia. I'm not going to say anything. The Lions did say today, though, officially, and I got the letter and statement today, that they're not interviewing any other candidates. So that's why maybe you're going to hear a lot more than less in Rumorville there until the playoffs is over. In this case, the Super Bowl, if they or that particular team or particular teams go. That's when we'll hear Lions at their decision and hope it doesn't employ in their face, because on the date of the 14th, 4 years ago, they hired James Caldwell here. Now, the reason they hired James Caldwell was a conversation with Tony Dungy, because the guy at Wisenhoff, the person they really wanted to get, gave him the oh-he-ho. Now, that's why, sometimes it's just best not to say anything, let the progress take its shape there.
I would agree with that, Butch. And one other topic here that I wanted to bring up, college basketball. We haven't talked too much about that yet. Starting to get into the meat and potatoes portion of the season as Michigan defeats Michigan State on the road Saturday by the score of 82-72 in the latest poll. Michigan State now 9th. U of M 23rd. Anything as far as those two teams you want to add as far as college basketball?
Nothing else really there. Those, you got two good doggone teams that's going to be competitive practically all year long. Michigan, you're kind of scary on that there, but they're playing right now their best basketball of the season at this present time. And if they stay hot and melt everybody down, they'll be somewhere in the Big Ten championship kind of conversation there. But again, this is pretty good and fun. That's only Michigan and Michigan State only meet one time this year. So they're going to have to wait a year to kind of slap each other around in basketball again unless they meet each other in the tournaments there. I think it's good, clean, absolutely fun to see those two teams going after each other there.
Butch, we got a few minutes left. Any other notes from the Detroit sports scene or things you wanted to bring up here on the game?
Oh, yeah, well, sure. It's always a clown show sometimes on the game here. We have 3 more weeks. In these next 3 weeks, boys and girls, we can talk about wrestling and whatnot to a no, not one, because now everything's going to pre-plan itself for WrestleMania and whatnot. I know people are ready for that there. Another thing that I want to kind of bring to mind that no one said anything about soccer, okay?
Yes.
And we might be hearing a word or 2 or 3 in about maybe a couple weeks of the teams that they're going to accept to come into the league within a couple of years there. So we got to keep my ears peeled on that particular there per se, but we know the conversation that everybody wants to talk about. The Minnesota Vikings winning the game.
Unbelievable.
Did the guy get paid off or what here? What a tackle, huh?
Butch, we said it earlier. I think he was trying to tackle Manti Te'o's imaginary girlfriend.
Well, ask Dave. Ask Dave, see, what do he think here?
Dave's right here, Butch. Let him go.
I was saying it before, Butch. I saw my Steelers defense crumble against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Then Pittsburgh puts up 42 on the league's best defense. That was crushing. The Minnesota game, that was a great back and forth game. Seeing the leads change. But what in the heck was Williams thinking on that? Like, I know it's a rookie move. He's been great for them all year for the Saints back there. That was a move where he just wanted to make that big hit and just knock the ball loose, and really he could have just stopped and just hugged the guy and threw him to the ground inbounds, and the clock would have ran out because Minnesota had no timeouts left. We can say that right now sitting here, what could have been done. We're not in that moment, but that's the inexperience. That's where somebody, if it was experienced, they think that through before they approach. What in the heck was he going? Like that, I got a couple pictures that you might like. I was described 2 of them to you with that missed tackle. The guy with the red flag with the bull, with those people that get the bulls and they lift the red towel. And the other one is Stone Cold Steve Austin giving
the stunner.
Giving the stunner to
Bunch
Williams.
Of stunner reference.
Giving the stunner reference. Going absolutely nowhere while Diggs goes around him. Like, it's hilarious. Poor guy, he's getting trolled everywhere right now.
Oh, Butch, it was quite a weekend. And, hey, next week when we have our full 2-hour show, we will know the Super Bowl combatants, if you will. Butch, what does your week look like as far as things you're covering? Podcasts, give us a little snapshot of that.
The podcast, we're going to talk about the Pistons a little bit. We are going to dive into some wrestling there, especially kind of develop on the Japanese Wrestling Association right now there. As some people know who've been keeping up with it. Cody Rhodes is now over there in Japan doing the wrestling. Plus, Japan came over here sometime back in December in 2017 and did a show in Long Beach, which they just showed on one of the networks there, and it was fantastic. A lot of people know who Kenny Omega is here, but a lot of people out there right now, that's the hottest commodity right now. If the WWE want to get a hold to, that guy is the one they want to get, is Kenny Omega.
You can find those podcasts on Butch's podcast page, simply Butch2, that's TOO.podomatic.com. You can also find Butch on Facebook. Just go to Butch on Sports and his website, ButchOnSports.com. Butch, we got to cut this show short. We'll talk to you next week here from the Wicked Sister.
For sure.
And Dave, want to thank you for making the trek over, as you can hear Dave McKagan, his special editions of the game coming up this week. You can find that on the podcast page, snason.podomatic.com. And coming up later this month, Dave, we're going to have Butch's podcast, your podcast, our podcast, and our Eagle 95.1 sports podcast on the brand new website, thegamesportshow.com. ParamountSports.com. Looking forward to that.
How amazing is that? Oh, that's awesome.
The
website's going to be amazing.
That's going to do it here from the Wicked Sister. Dave and Butch, thank you for joining us. I want to thank our broadcast engineer, Katie Woolen, back in the Eagle 95.1 studios, and our guest, Sioux Eagles assistant coach, Nick Perry. We'll get back to more Classic Hits at Random right now here on Eagle 95.1.
Thanks for tuning into the game on Eagle 95.1. Tune in every Monday night at 6 for local sports talk on The Game from the Wicked Sister on Ashman in downtown Sault Ste. Marie. You can hear the full 2-hour broadcast of the game, including regional and national sports talk and guests on the podcast page snason.podomatic.com.
Or you can find the link on our Eagle 95.1 Facebook page.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled program.
Eagle 95.1 WUPN Paradise, Sault Ste. Marie.